Hello and welcome to what should be a really fun stream here today on Tuesday, July 11th. I am myself making note of the date because unlike Justin, who's done 600, 700, some daily fantasy DFS, why am I blanking on best ball drafts? I have done absolutely zero. And alongside Justin, gonna draft an underdog weekly winners underdog draft today. Gonna also rip open a Blitz Best Ball pack at the end of the stream. Should be a fun stream. Had this idea for a best ball for dummies kind of concept, and I mean, I literally barely know who plays for who, so it's going to be an entertaining stream. And as always, I am going to just kind of sit back and watch Justin do his thing. I still find it incredibly enamoring to just listen to you go through all the thought processes that go through your brain when you're doing these drafts. So going to be a fun one. We're also just back from Vegas. I've been home for, I don't know, what is 15 hours now. Justin probably has only been home for what is like 12 hours now. So just coming off a 3-day Vegas trip. Was a lot of fun. You have a best moment in Vegas for us, Justin? What was your best moment in Vegas?
Gosh, it was a fun weekend. It was really fun. I really enjoyed the night golf that we did 2 nights ago. Last night? Yeah. 2 nights ago? I don't know. 2 nights ago.
2 nights ago. 2 nights ago.
But yeah, went over to Angel Park, which has a little par 3, but under the lights course, as well as a little 9-hole putting green kind of course. So that was fun. Good people there, and just kind of fun to go out there. We were able to play as a sixsome and such. Enjoyed that. Enjoyed kind of seeing a bunch of people at the main or in the outer events that we've known from the best ball space, or from just OTM, the whole just larger family. So it was good to kind of put a little face to a lot of names out there. TJ's still grinding right now. He's in day 2 of a $2,500 no limit one, doing well there. So Cupe and I got a little action on that, so we're watching that in the Slack channel. That's going well. But yeah, overall, really fun trip. But yeah, no best ball drafting out there because of Vegas. So got that itch, and I'm ready to get back at it.
The Fiend was ready to get home. He was ready to get back into the draft streets. I did want to, as we're drafting here, we're live. Justin's in the 10 spot in the weekly winners draft. I did want to just quickly hit on your best ball bet, Justin, with Dan Zach, to put a little poker related bet. And there was a lot of conversation that we had with people this weekend about the bet, and it had come up and people were like very interested. So if you can give us just the high level of how you turned what will be 150 best ball drafts into a high stake bet between you and another poker pro.
Yeah, let me see if I can pull up the actual bet as we're talking through it, which I think will be helpful. But the background is I'm so close to finding it. There we go. I got it. Okay. Oh, now I gotta share that screen. Okay, we'll figure out sharing it.
You're good. You're good.
Yeah. But high level,
I'll find it while you talk through it.
Okay. Yeah. Look at my Twitters. It's back there. Yeah. So high level is we've seen in the poker space, a lot of these head-to-heads, heads up for rolls, discussions going down. And I think it's just a fun way to, get a little action while also putting a little, money where your mouth is. I think it's also really good for the game and the industry because it gets kind of people talking, it gets people kind of excited. And I think it also gets people who, at various stakes. All right, we're going to grab some Eckler at the
Eckler, nice.
Great value there. But it allows people to kind of mirror that kind of bet and maybe with their friends or with other people in the industry. Because with best ball, there's so much of, hey, I can make statements right now, and whether or not I actually make it to the finals, and actually see my variance, there's a lot you can say, but this is actually the chance, this is a structure that allows us to really put some money behind our ability, our views, our competency. And so that's the background there. I just kind of put out hey, I love the idea of a head-to-head bet. If there's anyone that has ideas on this or wants to do it, let me know. And then Dan Zach reached out to me. So Dan Zach was the poker player, World Series Poker Player of the Year last year. Probably one of the top poker players, new age poker players that is out there right now. So very sharp guy. And I think, he just kind of reached out and was like, hey, would love to kind of discuss this, figure out what we can do, had a wide range of what he was willing to bet. So we ended up going with around $50,000. And the way that it broken out is, so our goal was to figure how we can structure a bet that doesn't change the way that we're going to be playing a tournament. So we're doing it for Best Ball Mania. We both know we're maxing that out. So we wanted to do it and model it so that it's not just like, how do we game to win the bet versus like, no, we want this to be still draft the way you would for the tournament. And hopefully the bet will represent that. And so what it ended up looking like is 2/3 of the bet. So winner $67,000 will go to whoever has the highest advance rate for the regular season. Advance rate is very indicative of your overall success and your ability at the game. So that's, I think, important. But we also want to make sure that there was weight towards, hey, if you're going to be, in my normal drafts for BBM, I'm focusing on week 17 because that's where the money is. If I was only doing advance rate, I wouldn't pay attention to that at all. So we need to make sure there was still some kind of, hey, how well you do financially overall, how well you hit in week 17 comes in. So the other third of it, actually, maybe it's a third. I'm trying to remember now. It's either a third. Pull it up on. You have it on here. Yeah. 33,000 is the advance rate. 67,000 is proportional for how you finish. So if I end up getting on my average entry and making a little more than him, I'll make a little more of that split. If one of us dominates the other, they'll dominate that percentage of the 67,000.
Very nice. Very nice. I just find it very interesting that you, and then alongside another poker guy, like classic mesh between poker, traditional DFS guys, trying to find ways to continue to not only get action, but I think the coolest thing about some of the, heads up for in the poker game is to get people talking about stuff like this. It's fun already to talk about best ball in and of itself with the BBM3, some of the stuff that DraftKings is doing, some of the stuff that new stuff with the weekly winners that Underdog's doing. But then on top of that, it's always very interesting in the peer-to-peer, like I'm better than you, or you're better than me, or hey, let's shut up and play for it. When you're able to do that and try to find a way to do it, super, super interesting. I know you were talking about doing some, one of your last tweets was talking about doing live in-person best ball. I mean, so many ideas in terms of, trying to continue to iterate on fantasy football and in general, this best ball concept. So super exciting to see what the future holds in the best ball space.
Yeah, I love that. And let's see who's hanging out with us right now. We got AM, we got JM from H John. Got to hang out with H John a little in Vegas too. Brandon JM, how's it going as well? And yeah, I mean, we are still so early on in like the larger kind of best ball aspects. And I think best ball for me is just kind of a identification of a desire from the industry to continue to find new games to innovate around fantasy sports. And like this was a great way where it's like, hey, it's a little different. It gets rid of the things that are tedious around waivers, around trades, around management aspects, gives you that kind of fun of the drafting and the sweating. And, I think like with the best ball packs, kind of same idea. You get the fun of the sweating, you get the fun of the ripping packs, but maybe you only have 3 minutes to go do it rather than this takes 45, 50 minutes or so. And another one for doing forms of in-person events around best ball, I think would be awesome. I think there are a lot of positive, I think, just excitement in the tweets there where people are like, let me know, I'm in, tell me where it is. This would be awesome. I think that'd be a really cool, fun event.
Yeah, definitely agree. I think the concept of continuing, and we proved it out a little bit in Vegas this weekend, the concept of continuing to like meet people in person in a world where you're interacting online so often is just like, second to none. I really think it solidifies, things that you're doing, whether it be business wise, personal wise, just getting to meet someone face to face and spend some time with them, talk to them, especially people that have like-minded interests, definitely makes for, a way to like solidify the relationship that you have with people that you maybe have only met online. All right, let's get back into weekly winners. In my host chair here, I'm going to ask you to kind of like, take it 10 steps down from your traditional draft and talk to me like, ELI 5, explain it to me like I'm 5 here. I know the basics of weekly winners. I know it's a 12-person, 18-round draft. You're in a single group, but on a given week in the NFL, week 1 in the NFL, it's going to be a contest of every single person's lineup that enters weekly winners. Is that correct?
Yeah. So the big difference is there's no longer a cumulative angle. There's no longer a playoffs angle. You are drafting before the season, but the prizes are weekly. So it allows you to say like, hey, I'm building where I'm willing to take some risks, because in normal best ball, if you have a week where like your tight ends get 0, your QB gets 0, your wide receivers get 0, like that's going to really hurt your advance rate and your long-term opportunity to make money through making the playoffs. In this, if you get a 0 out of an entire position group, that's the same thing as if you finished in the 97th percentile for that week, because neither of those are cashing. So those zeros really don't hurt you in the grand scheme of things at all. So it allows us to take a bit riskier builds and really going for that weekly upside. So we have been just absolutely getting extremely good ADP across the board right now for this draft. Eckler Lamb is a great, unique start to begin with. T. Higgins dropping all the way to 34 when we usually see him up here around like 27s as ADP. Keenan Allen, a little fall, but the nice thing is we get a little Eckler. Keenan, I doubt Justin Herbert falls back to us at 58. But if he does, like that's an opportunity. We've also got the Dak Prescott opportunity later on. So we're building for that. The way that the game kind of changes, though, as I mentioned, is like, for those who have done BBM, those who have done like the more traditional best ball, like Leone put out that amazing article, the Best Ball Manifesto, that dives into all of the data around this. How do we structure it? What should we be drafting towards? I put out that pyramid as well that kind of goes, hey, at different points in the draft, what you should be focusing on. Almost all of that gets thrown out the window for this structure, because all of that data is so heavily around advance rate. And it's saying when you draft, like, yes, you can have one QB who has a great year, but it's still worth grabbing that other second late QB, because maybe your QB for that bye week, maybe your QB has a couple, a week or two that's really low, and it's worth the extra points that you're expecting to get from a starting late QB. Here, you don't really care. Like that 15 points from a QB when your other QB has a bye week, that's irrelevant here. So it allows us to really take these more extreme builds. And I think you're going to see that with a couple of the teams. Like Knowles over here, I have a feeling he's only going to go with one tight end and one QB. It's a pretty popular build when you go Mark Andrews and Lamar, because the thought process is, all right, you're spending a lot on an early tight end. Your team is only going to finish in the top 1%, 0.1%, when your tight end here has a really good week. If your tight end has a good week, that means Lamar probably also has a good week, or the inverse. If Lamar has a really bad week, Mark Andrews probably also has a bad week. So what are the chances of then drafting another QB and another tight end that maybe they're stacked and now they're hoping for the 1% outcome? You've already devoted so much capital early on. It makes sense to go with a 1-1 build. We don't have any tight ends or any QBs. So maybe we are going to go with a bit more of a 2 QB, 2 tight end or something build, but maybe we're going to go lighter on wide receivers because we're investing so heavily. We're going to win when these guys are going off.
Yeah, this makes sense. So, I mean, I'm just looking at it holistically. There's 261,000 entrants that will be in this contest when this thing fills. There is, on a weekly basis, there's 7,315 spaces that are paid out. The min payout is $10, so you get 2/3 of your investment back. It's a $15 entry. So you're looking at every single week, 2.8% of people are paid. So you're going to need a top 2.8% lineup to just get a min cash. You're going to need a top 0.001% lineup in order to chase down that $20,000 at the top every single week in the NFL. So like, to me, this is just like such an interesting concept. When this first came out, this is a tournament where I feel like I just playing casually DFS, it just made a little bit more sense to me than BBM, where I'm like having to use a completely different brain, like you said, reading up on the manifesto, reading up on just in general how people are attacking, what the strategy is for, traditional, what I'll call like normal BBM style best ball. So I definitely like this concept, and I'm interested in getting into these streets a little bit more than BBM. Whereas I feel like in BBM, someone who like me is casual, I'm just kind of dusting it off most likely.
All right. I think we're going to get Justin Herbert. I was a little scared to hear that the Burrow guy was going to grab him to stack with Mike Williams, but because all these guys grab QBs this early, it doesn't make sense for them to grab a second one like Justin Herbert. So I think we should have Herbert fall to us. Are you kidding, Odie Alley?
Oh no, that is gross.
What are you doing? You have Mahomes.
Why
Herbert
did he
does
take?
nothing for you. You don't have a stack option. You don't have Eckler, Keenan, or Mike Williams. Oh, the tilt.
Wow, that is so gross.
There's no reason he should have drafted him other than he saw, ADP, I'm getting some value. Oh.
Wow. Okay, so hypothetically speaking, if we didn't get him, so we're gonna have to change strategy. If we got him there, we got Herbert, Eckler, Keenan Allen. Are we then thinking like we're basically only winning when the Chargers go off? So are we always then? Would you always be looking at like Chargers opponents? Are Chargers opponents instantly more interesting to you in terms of like bring back options from a traditional DFS brain think?
Yeah, I think you can. I also think that is the way that people are actually overthinking things a little.
That makes sense. If I'm thinking about it, then most everybody's probably thinking about it. So that it's pretty sharp.
Well, I mean, we've been focusing so much time on week 17 because of the other tournament that people's initial reaction is, okay, game stacks are so important for week 17. Well, let me then focus on game stacks for these other weeks. But I don't think that's actually the right way to look at it. Like, I think there's a very small advantage to if you're getting a team that you're going to play against, you're going to play against twice.
Yeah, interdivision. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, but that's still only 2 out of 17 games.
Sure.
And the value of a bring back, it's definitely valuable and why we care about it when we consider like week 17, but it is not the end all be all. And so now you're optimizing for 2 out of 17 when I think there's other things that we can probably be optimizing for, not to mention you're actually losing probably a little uniqueness with that as well. So off weights a little. I still think it's good to focus on divisional opponents when you know a team you're stacking, but it's not as important to me as it is in week 17. When I think of week 17, you're building your lineup for that 1 week because that's where the upside is. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, okay, this opponent is playing this in this 1 week sample. Here, you're then you're like optimizing for a 2 week out of 17 week process. That gives like it's not nearly as important when we think about the large scheme of things. I care more about things like it's not going to work out. Actually, it could work out in this one where the best QBs are often in week 10 or week 13. If you were to go to see, we can't easily see, but let me just go real quick. Mahomes is by week 10. Hurts is by week 10. Lamar is 13. Allen is 13. Like the ones I just did, 10s and 13. So we don't have an elite quarterback. Okay, maybe I should actually be looking then at trying to build teams that like have a good opportunities for week 10 and 13. And you can take a look at schedule if you want. But like now we know that the best QBs are all out of the field. So when you have Dak, when you have Justin Herbert as your QBs, you're really not behind the 8 ball for those weeks. So that's one where it's like, okay, I can maybe get a unique way to build towards a week when others are going to be already hampered. So like I like that because I think it still has like a week or two of upside. So who are we? We grabbed the Seattle to give us potentially a Seattle stack here as well. We still have the Dallas. Dallas plays the Giants in week 10. And guess who they play in week 13?
I don't know. I'm looking at week 10. Who do they play in week 13?
Seattle.
Oh, okay. I like it.
So with this structure now, I'm not only playing for that 1 week, but I'm building a strong team. And that 1 week specifically, week 13, a lot of the QBs are gone. We're hopefully going to grab a Geno and or a Dak in this build. We'll look around. Maybe we grab Brandon Cooks here, keep that Dallas strong. There's some options. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, that thought process is so spot on. That the week 10, week 13 thing, I would have had no idea. I mean, that makes a ton of sense when you're looking at the premier quarterbacks being out, or basically mostly all the premier quarterbacks being out in a couple of weeks, especially from a fantasy scoring perspective. Makes a lot of sense there. Yeah, the first thing that I thought was like teams against your main stack, and then secondarily, like you said, the divisional matchups, playing teams multiple times definitely has to be kind of a slight edge. But then I'm sure when you do just get some great ADP value, it's probably better to just take the quote unquote better players and see where the chips fall.
Yeah. And I mean, like, yeah, there's lots of small edges that I think can be had. And the divisional one is a small edge that I just think is being a little over going for.
Makes a ton of sense.
People are overdoing it, but it's a small one. And then same thing with bye weeks. We've accepted we're not going to win week 5 here. Probably not going to win week 7 either. So when you have small tiebreakers, maybe you default to drafting a player that has that same bye week. Okay. And again, like, we're probably going to want to try to avoid definitely week 13, maybe week 10 as well.
Yeah.
I do like Brandon Cooks, but Chris Godwin's just too good of an ADP to pass up, as well as when he's got that bye week that we like there. So I'm going to grab Chris Godwin here. And there's enough other like legit wide receivers that I wouldn't expect these guys to reach and grab Brandon Cooks. But it's worth us at least taking that chance with Chris Godwin just being such a good ADP fall and a fit for our team.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So how do you, this is actually a great question, and we'll circle back on a lot of the comments from chat, but great question, because I was thinking about this with 260,000 entries with 2% being paid. I mean, these drafts sort of, if you get a bunch of guys like me in some of these drafts, you're probably just saying like, oh, I'm going to take ADP. And then when you're just drafting off ADP, you're going to get all the duplicates. So this guy, Rohan M says, favorite strats reaching way off the board around 14 plus to get low on guys differentiate. What's your thought on, like, I wouldn't even have understood like how to differentiate really on Underdog, because, it seems like the best guys are at the top of the board, right? But when you scroll down on the board, it's clearly going to be differentiated. So what's your take on differentiation and trying to get unique?
Yeah, so for the majority of players, think of it like a DFS contest where the most high-owned running backs for a week might be 30, 35% owned. The top wide receivers are often like 25 or so. In this contest, no player is going to be more than 8.3%, 1 divided by 12, because that's the most they could be is, hey, they drafted once in every draft, blah, blah. But if you can get a player that is only drafted in 50% of drafts, their ownership is actually going to be like 4.15% now. We're getting close to 4%. You find someone who's only being drafted in 10% of drafts, now that 8.3 is actually sub 1 and it's 0.8%. So there are ways to find uniqueness there. And when we think about like, what is the difference? And I think this is what Rohan's kind of alluding to. But if we look at tight ends, what is the difference between Tyler Conklin at 191, who's probably going in 99% of drafts, so he's going to be 8% owned, and Hunter Henry, 214.9, who's probably going in like 20% of drafts, maybe even less. Noah Fant, maybe 20%. Or we go even a little further, and Zach Ertz, Cade Otton. Cade Otton's a starting tight end for them. Like, what is the real difference here between Cade Otton and Tyler Conklin? If you were to give me like a 1 week sample size of what their projections are in a week, I'm guessing Conklin's probably got about a point higher projection than Cade Otton on most weeks.
Makes sense.
Maybe a point and a half or something, like definitely not that much. But if I can grab Cade Otton, who's not being drafted at all, now he has that 2 touchdown week. I'm now unique. It's DFS. You get that contrarian angle. I will put a hesitation in that I do like to do it, but I'm not going overboard with it now, particularly on like running backs, because we're going to know a lot more when we get to August and when this con is a little more close, because you might think like, okay, I'm going to draft Josh Kelly because he's not being drafted right now and you're getting someone really unique. But then we see preseason game that he's the clear number 2 and he rips off a run. And now what you thought was going to be a really low-owned guy is actually going to be drafted actually in every draft going forward. And he's a 16th rounder. So it's not like you're getting that much ADP value on him and you lose out on your low-owned player. So I really want to take that strategy strong near the end of the draft process when the tournament's close to filling. But I'm willing to do it on guys here where like nothing's going to happen that like Logan Thomas, Kate Otten, that they like surge up or something.
Sure. No, it makes a ton of sense. And I was thinking the same way. If this thing's only 12%, 13% full, I don't have the number in front of me, but it's gonna clearly change as we get through the end of July and into middle of August. And like you said, I didn't even think about preseason games being out there. If this thing doesn't fill before that starts, then you're going to have a lot of potential changes at the bottom of the board where someone has one or two good games, and all of a sudden in preseason, that's really possibly all you need, especially at a position like running back. Wide receiver probably a little bit harder to break in, but like running back, if you're going to get, especially if you catch the ball out of the backfield, can definitely change substantially in terms of where people are going to be drafted in rounds 15, 16, 17, 18.
Yeah, like Rowan mentioned. Yeah, Matt Breida, Zamir White, Josh Kelly, Keontae Ingram. These are all guys that like we think are going to be the number 2 that are not being drafted barely at all. But I will probably just wait a little bit till a little further on, at least preseason, when maybe this turn-in is now like 75% full, to get an idea of who I know that's low owned. All right. So we ended up getting Dak and Geno. Both of those are double wide receiver stacks. And actually, Geno gives us the Kenneth Walker too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no. Yeah, we only have one Seattle. We have one. Yeah, okay. So double stacks, but one is Kenneth Walker as well, which he's not as much of a pass catcher as Charbonnet, but he still catches passes, or at least did last year. I still think you can have like a Geno and Walker together going off. I think this touches now on an interesting point where a lot of people are like, okay, Justin, you said one quarterback. You've drafted CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks. Why not just stop at Dak? And for me, the thought process is I'm not investing that much more right now by grabbing someone like Geno. And what Geno does is it gives me additional outs for, hey, my other players can collectively go off either in a stack or without a stack. Maybe you just need that 25, that 30 from your other QBs because we're invested heavily in the Seattle as well. We have that opportunity. And, yes, week 17, I don't really want 2 quarterbacks in the same game because positive to correlate. But in this structure, I'm specific. We have that week 13 kind of mapped out with Dallas, Seattle. And so, yeah, I'm getting now because here you don't just need the good QB that does really well, but you need the elite. You need to hit pretty much the nuts.
The number one, yeah.
Yeah, because in week 17 of the BBM, you got to beat 450 other people. That's a lot, but it's 450. Here, you need to beat 260,000. And so, yeah, if Dak, if Geno outscores Dak by 4 points in week 17, that doesn't really matter. It probably matters in this structure for really chasing that top prize.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense to me for sure. And I mean, not only to just chase the top prize, but in general, every other week when to me, it's like your team sets up to have possible 2 QBs, and I'm a guy who likes to enjoy this and sweat the teams and see how you have. Like every week, you're going to give yourself a couple of outs the way you're stacked up. And if Dallas and Seattle end up going off separately, you've got yourself a pretty good chance, I think, here to run up the board.
All right, let's take a look at my friend Uda who sniped our Justin Herbert.
Still makes no sense.
How is he doing here? All right. Bijan, Miles Sanders, Elijah Mitchell, Devin A. Shane, Michael Thomas, Terry Debo, light on wide receivers. Dallas Goedert without Jalen Hurts. Uda not a good drafter. Not they good. Put me on tilt.
I laugh because I totally could see myself being in one of these drafts, getting down to 5 seconds left, panicking, and then just being ultra clicking the top QB on the board or something like that, which totally could make sense in terms of how these things work out. But obviously it hurt us today.
And if it was BBM, there's logic that you know what, you got good value on him, you whatever, having 2 QBs, the arguments for it. But in this structure, there's no world that Justin Herbert has the QB1 game and you're not going to want any of his stack partners. Yeah. And maybe you can We'll see if Udalele grabs Gerald Everett. If they grab Gerald Everett, I'm going to at least like give them the tiniest little like hat tip. Like, okay, you at least gave your shot at it. I'm not going to accept this idea of blocking because it is the most negative EV thing in this. If you think you are preventing someone from getting that nut team, like it doesn't matter. There's never a reason to it. It's not worth your $15 entry. You're never going to get enough EV back. Here we go, Mark. Yeah. 6 rushing TD coming from Herbert. Khalil Herbert is probably more likely than Justin Herbert to get that. Okay. We don't really need to invest too much more in the wide receivers. We may actually be done at this. McKinnon, Jamal. I do like Jamal, but the challenge is Jamal's most value is going to come. Oh, this is tough. All right, we're going Jarek. So we're going Jamal. Well, thought process there is I do like Jamal. Jamal's strongest games are going to come in first 4 weeks or so, because that's when Alvin Kamara is most likely to be suspended. I guess, we don't have a bye until week 5. We can still hit in those first 4 weeks, but it's also the hardest weeks to really hit because every team is on bye. No teams are on bye, so everyone has their full rosters. I almost went with the Jerick McKinnon because of, hey, we still want the upside. But then, honestly, I saw Jerick McKinnon had that week 10 bye. And I was like, you know what? We're trying to avoid those. We have a little edge in that one. So
we have no tight ends here. Like, talk me through. Are all the tight ends right now just sort of the same to you? You're fine kind of falling down a little further. What's the take on just like where you are comfortable taking tight ends and where you're comfortable, honestly, I guess more interestingly, where you're comfortable passing?
Yeah, let's see if there is a tight end here that we want to mess with. Gerald Everett. It could go Greg Dulcich. It's either this or another running back. We have Eckler and Walker. Sure. So let's grab Dulcich here. Thought process is that if you don't have an elite tight end, then you just want to grab tight ends that are correlated with your QBs. Underdog is primarily, it's half PPR, so touchdowns are heavily favored, heavily important. So in this structure, I grab Dak, I grab Geno. I'm planning on grabbing the 2 late tight ends that stack with them. So where do we go? We have Noah Fant right here at 212. We have Jake Ferguson right here at 196. So I'm already expecting that my pick 16, pick 17 will be these. I shouldn't be competing against anyone for these guys because we have the QBs. And then it was, okay, I want to grab one other tight end, and I just want to do that at a time when it fits right in the draft. For that one, a little ADP value, but there wasn't a great other player that I really wanted to reach on. Jalen Warren, Tank Bigsby, I like these running backs, but when you really in a BBM structure, I probably would have gone Jalen Warren and then just grabbed 3 tight ends late. But Jalen Warren, I think he's going to outplay his value here, but I think it's unlikely that he really ever has many of the spike weeks. Because even if Najee Harris went down, there's then a little more of a chance, but I just don't have that much faith in the offense. It's an improved offensive line, which helps you guys. I know I'm talking crap about your Pittsburgh.
Warren, while he had such a good year last year, and I thought he looked great. I don't know, when you're a secondary running back, you're not going to get as many touches. How many weeks in general, if you were just thinking about projection and upside, how many weeks is Jalen Warren outscoring Austin Eckler, Kenneth Walker, Jamal Williams? I mean, in general, just not going to happen all that often. And I'll take my chances at the variance of the tight end provides to get someone whose ADP falls a little bit, and maybe they land in the end zone 2 times. So I was just curious at how you're thinking about, your positional allocation versus where you're comfortable drafting a position like tight end, where you're, if you're not getting an elite guy, you're kind of fine with, a bunch of different guys and fine to kind of wait to the end, especially if the correlation is going to just fall to you.
Yeah. Yep. I agree with that. And honestly, my offense structure with these is trying to be elite at as many positions as possible and accepting that one position I'm just really gonna not be in good shape on. And I mean even more extreme than normal, because let's use running back as an example. I posted on Twitter when the tournament first got announced, but like I think you can go true zero RB here, where you get an elite QB, you get an elite tight end, you get 6, 7 really good wide receivers. Then you can just ref running back the rest of the time. And the thought process there is, all right, when your elite Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce go off together, you've got the potentially QB1, tight end 1 combo. Awesome. You then invested a lot at wide receiver, and you're hoping that among your 6, 7 guys that are all mostly elite, upper echelon guys, you are hoping that you can ping pong enough together to like, okay, provide complementary to this QB and the tight end. And then for running backs at the very end, you're now just hoping that like it's late enough in the season that 1 or 2 of your guys really fell into a starter role. It's similar to the 4,000, 4,500 running backs on DraftKings that really end up at like 40% owned. And you're just hoping like, hey, provide me enough of it. And I think with QB and wide receiver, it's the hardest to do. With running back and tight end, you have the most opportunity.
Yeah, no, that wide receiver definitely seems like it's sort of it's going to be difficult, right? Even though you play the most wide receivers here every single week, it's just going to be much harder to hit on, what guy is going to like end up following the lineup, whether it's a rookie, whether it's some unknown guy. It definitely seems like it's harder to hit on something like that. And I think being elite at wide receiver, again, someone who I know a lot of the stuff that you talk about is like literally trying to take home the top prize, like. I'm trying to enjoy this and get a sweat out of this, and like following alongside the best wide receivers in a given draft or in a given draft room to me is going to be the most fun. So yeah, stacking up and getting elite at a couple of positions makes a ton of sense.
We did just do a full poll. We drafted a bye week 13, but we needed running back and like bye week 10, bye week 13, bye week 10, bye week 13.
Yeah, not many options.
Not the greatest spots here. Maybe I could like drop down to like a Jerome Ford or something. But we do need another running back here. I'm going to go with Raheem Mostert just because he has the big play ability with his speed to kind of break free and have that kind of spike week game we're looking for.
All right, who the hell did we draft before this? I don't even know who this player is.
Roshan Johnson.
Okay, yeah, talk to me.
Running back for Chicago, rookie. It's a 3-headed backfield. We know Chicago wants to run the ball a lot. Even if like Justin Fields is able to take it to the next step and open up the offense a bit, we still expect them to be a heavy run first team. Right now, you're looking at either Khalil Herbert, Deonta Foreman, or Roshan Johnson. Deonta Foreman's never going to catch passes. So really it's a question of does Khalil Herbert or does Roshan Johnson really become the primary de facto pass catcher in that offense? And then a lot of, sharp people thought Roshan Johnson actually has like the ability to become a primary back on a team too. So Herbert is a fantastic runner, one of the most efficient runners in the game. Let's go back to the board. I haven't been here a little bit. One of the most efficient actual runners in the game. So I think like him and Deonta Foreman kind of have duplicative. So I think there's a little more risk there. Roshan, we're just hoping that like, hey, as we said, we've got early bye weeks. So we're playing for the later weeks. We're playing for that week 10, that week 13. We're playing for the second half when we've got everyone available. That's also when it's most likely that rookie Roshan maybe has an opportunity to excel and become the kind of primary back.
Yeah, I like it. I had, as soon as people say rookie, I'm someone who watches a decent bit of college football, but hadn't heard the name. So I wanted to quickly take a look. Played at Texas, played behind Bijan. So he's known for someone who probably doesn't touch the ball as much. And when he gets a chance, he's going to put his skills on full display. So maybe he ends up being a kind of guy who has flash and can do some stuff on third downs and, make some stuff happen. So
he had a good combine as well. So looked pretty strong there. Doesn't have much wear and tear on the tires because, hey, anybody would have played behind Bijan.
Yeah, exactly. Playing behind Bijan is pretty tough.
Right. Not the first time that we've seen backup college running backs end up having some success in the pros either. So I think it fits well for this lineup other than that one bye week aspect. But we can still make it work with the others. Okay, we're coming back around. Honestly, I think we're done with wide receiver. The thought process just here is buys, whatever. Week 7, week 5, we're not going to win. Every other week, we're going to have all 6 of them, assuming they're healthy. And the chance of me drafting a wide receiver now, especially one that's not correlated because there's no Dallas or Seattle wide receivers this late, and surpassing these others is rather slim, or at least slimmer than the value I'm going to get at other positions. I do want more running backs. Yes, we got Eckler and Walker, but running backs just have, I think, more spike week potential in a spot start, especially uncorrelated to a QB. If a grinding running back ends up going for 3 touchdowns, he's actually stealing away from the rest of the offense. And if we don't have pieces of that offense, those teams are hurting while we're getting that actual, we're getting those points in that volume. So we'll definitely be going on with a lot of running backs. I'm slightly even considering a 4 tight end team here just because that is the weakest of ours. And so if one of our stacks goes off and then, hey, we get our running backs too, I don't want it to be like, oh, darn, we just couldn't make it work with our tight ends. So if I grab Dawson Knox here, which I think is just a strong one, we could also consider Juwan Johnson. Let's see, Buffalo.
I got to think Knox has a little bit more touchdown potential versus Juwan Johnson, I would think.
Yeah, Cowboys play Buffalo. Seattle plays Dallas week 13. That's not an okay. So with Buffalo, we're getting week 15 for the Dallas, which I like. I don't think Seattle or Dallas even play New Orleans. So that was one where it was like, I kind of like Dawson, but in case there was a crazy tiebreaker where I would have considered it. But yeah, again, week 13, not ideal for us, but if we're going to have 4 of these, it's probably okay. We don't want another Juwan because we still want to grab Noah Fant. Let's at least put Noah.
And the reason we want Fant is correlated because of who we have in Seattle. And we're basically playing for Seattle 45-point games and Fant 2 touchdowns, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, or even just 1. But the tight ends and DF and Underdog scoring with touchdowns just to correlate the highest with their pass catchers. So when Geno has that 4 touchdown game, increased chance that Everett had at least one of them.
I like a little Gus bus.
No, we're gonna grab Cupe. All right, we'll go Gus. We're doing so well at avoiding these week 10s and week 13.
I know. I was just thinking that. I just saw week 13 and I was like, man, the last 2 picks.
Like everyone ended up, all these running backs just ended up in the weeks 10, week 13. Chuba, like Ty Chandler, I love too, but again, week 13. That was 16. I guess we could have gone our what are we looking at right now? We're 2-6-6-2. So that was probably our last running back that we were grabbing. Ideally, we'll probably go with these 2 tight ends. Again, don't expect anyone to really be fighting us on either of them. But we'll see if someone.
All right, talk to us a little bit quickly here, just like the basics of construction. You said 2-6-6-2 for people that don't watching this have no idea what the heck he's talking about, which was me like I don't know a month ago when I was listening to someone on stream. It's the number of quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends that we've drafted on a specific team. When you listen to people, they're going to talk mostly about that for BBM. What's your take on like weekly winners, and does allocation matter as much as it does based on the team that you have and the stacks that you have and stuff like that?
Right. And like with normal roster construction for like BBM or traditional tournaments, like there's, hey, you want to have between 2 and 3 QBs. You want to have between 4 and 6 running backs and 5 and 9 wide receivers and such. That gets thrown out the window here because, again, a lot of those roster constructions are based on providing you with a solid floor or expected to average each week to make sure you get enough points to not, take a 0, take a really bad week and keep you from advancing. Here, those don't matter. So I've done teams with 3 running backs. I've done teams with 10 running backs. I've done teams with 1 QB, 1 tight end. I think I've done 3 QBs. Now we're arguably going to be doing 4 tight ends. So all that roster construction really just doesn't matter as much. It's more of, as you go through the draft, identify where you're strong and where you're weak. And when you invest enough capital early on in a strong position, you don't need to back that up with just some, lower average guys. And like, yeah, we were talking about, I told you earlier, I expected this Knowles to only go Mark Andrews Lamar. They grabbed Michael Mayer later on, which is fine. Very, very late, but like no other QB, pretty much just one wide receiver there. Josh Allen here from Dalt Troy. Grabbed a late Kyler Murray. Don't really understand that one. No stack. Jalen Hurts grabbed a Russell Wilson. Like, there's still a decent amount of edge to be had in these. Mahomes with the Herbert, Burrow with Richardson. I don't mind the Richardson, but I don't know. The Burrow one was here very weird too, because you grab Burrow.
He's not stacked up.
Chase is here. Higgins is here.
Yeah.
But
yeah, this is something that interests me. Like, I mean, there's so much content out there focused on BBM and things like that. I mean, what's high level, obviously hard to hold anybody to an answer, but in general, people are listening to podcasts, people are just listening to some of these streams that are out there. They're just like holding on to a piece of information or a nugget from someone or somewhere that they heard it. How many people are drafting like in weekly winners, just basically saying, oh, I'll draft the same team as BBM and not even like drafting correlated to the kind of tournament that this is?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on our bubble, but I would guess like outside our bubble, 90%, or maybe making some minor adjustments like the divisional aspect, the bye weeks and such. But I mean, from what I've seen, majority of teams are staying in general roster constructions of BBM. All right, Jake Ferguson went to Z Johnson over here, who decided to go with a third QB, Matthew Stafford, to go with his others, and a third uncorrelated tight end. Oh, buddy.
Well, we got Fant,
but we're gonna grab Noah Fant. And now the question is, do we want another fourth tight end that's uncorrelated, or do we want to grab a seventh running back? Lots of tight ends that I like. This is also where, as you mentioned, like you could go for those people aren't being drafted. I'm going to go with Chuba Hubbard and just stick with our three tight ends. I think Chuba Hubbard actually has like a decent amount of weekly upside with a Miles Sanders injury. I think he project very well. Carolina,
I know nothing, and if you would have held a gun to my head there, I would have said, let's just draft Chuba Hubbard. Makes the most logical sense. So glad to know that that made sense to you as well. But yeah, I don't even know who Trey McBride is. Hunter Henry is going to be in a share, like Hayden Hurst. I guess he's going to Hayden Hurst is like someone who has to fall in the end zone to get points. So yeah, I mean,
I'll take Chuba, I like all these because Hayden Hurst, new year in Carolina. You expect him to be the pass-catching tight end. The past few years, they've really used their tight ends for blocking, but they haven't had anyone like Hayden Hurst who can actually go out on routes. So bullish on him. Trey McBride, sophomore after rookie year in Arizona. Zach Ertz tore his ACL, MCL, probably not going to be back for a while. Trey McBride was a strong prospect, so we could see him have a nice level year two. But I think Arizona is going to be a dumpster fire, so like it's a little scary there. They may just use their tight ends to block. And Hunter Henry is just a fantastic value because he's still going to be running the tight end routes while Mike is, if anything, is going to be used more as a wide receiver. Okay. All right. What's this question here? Mark saying, seems to be more risky from a corruption perspective. Couldn't let my friends agree on perfect roster to pick. I don't think it's any different than any of the other contests. I think you still have the same collusion risks as well as monitoring by Underdog. They do a lot. Like, I think there's, because this is a structure of draft, like on their app where like people are doing so many drafts, that it would have to be like 11 people who have, been in the game for a while and are immediately doing it one-off and only doing it that one time. And like,
it also feels
very too much. Like,
it feels very difficult to get anywhere near like 3 or 4 people in the same draft, let alone 11 people in the same draft. I'm sure you certainly could, and everyone knows like to time it out by 12 guys. Do the division by 12. When one's full and getting into the next draft. But yeah, I mean, definitely seems like it would be pretty hard, and I got to imagine Underdog would be able to sniff some of that stuff out pretty easily.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, tournament style has bigger upsides, so the benefits would be even higher if you can build a monster team. Here you're taking risks, and like you could honestly do that, and like you obviously have to play within the ADP, so you can't even do it perfectly, and then you have like, are you even guaranteed how much you're going to? I don't know. I think it's way too much risk. I would think it's far riskier. First off on DraftKings, and then second in the large tournaments where there's more motivation for bad actors to actually take those risks.
Makes sense to me. All right, I loved it. I'm definitely going to be jumping into these weekly winners. I haven't drafted anything yet, but I think this is like a nice for anybody out there who's like DFS brained and like not fully ingrained into Underdog and BBM like just yet. Like to me, this is like one of those ones where in week 13, in week 14, it kind of can make sense. Where BBM, my brain tends to just get scrambled in those later rounds and not really know exactly what to do. So I think that it's a nice merge between traditional DFS and now best ball. So it should be pretty interesting to see how this pans out.
All right, we've had what do we do? Should we do should we do a giveaway? Should we rip open a pack and
let's rip open a pack. I'll get the StreamYard giveaway going, but I definitely want to rip open a pack here. So let me get the giveaway going and you get the pack going.
All right, awesome. While I'm getting the pack going, why don't you give people a little update? What are we looking at? How is this different from best ball?
So Best Ball Blitz. So, I mean, you guys just watched us draft weekly winners. We've been on stream 51 minutes. We probably started 5 minutes late or so. So it took 45 minutes to do a draft, which not everyone has 45 minutes. Or maybe you're trying to do a draft and do 15 things while you're doing a draft on your phone and you miss picks. And God knows I've done plenty of that on Underdog in the golf world. But in general, trying to develop a way to play best ball, a way to play fantasy football, I guess, first and foremost, with all of the upside of best ball, where you're not worrying about waivers or, any in-season management, but also gives you a quick boost of that dopamine that is fantasy football and drafting. So this game is Best Ball Blitz, and what you'll see is when Justin opens his pack, we're going to get 20 random cards, and in this game, in our game, you are going to get position and team allocations. So you're going to get Atlanta quarterback, New York Giants quarterback, Tampa Bay running back, as an example. You're going to get all the Tampa Bay running backs. You're going to get all the Arizona running backs. You're going to get all the Los Angeles Rams wide receivers versus an individual player. And then from these 20 cards, you'll essentially down select to 12. And then from there, that 12 card roster will play in tournaments all season long, and we will auto select your top 6. The top 6 will be 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, 1 tight end, and then 1 flex spot, a super flex, actually, because quarterbacks can be considered flex. I forgot defense, so defense as well. But that is Best Ball Blitz. So you saw Justin open a pack and then come to the builder here. You'll notice in the pack, you'll get an automatic 2 cards for every position. So 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, 2 defenses, and then 10 random cards. Could be 5 quarterbacks, could be 5 defenses, could be 2 of each again, but it's random. And then we will build a lineup from that pack opening. All right, what do we got here?
All right, so we start off with 5 QBs. Not the greatest, but I do like where we ended up with Giants and Colts. So Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson, both on a per game, like give us some upside because of what they do with the ground. Running backs were in bad shape. We only got 3 of them. New England's a good one. I like New England. You got Ramondre, and if they bring in someone else, it only helps. Otherwise, you got like Pierre Strong. It's one of those other back end guys. For Tampa and Arizona, it's a little gross. I'm going to throw Arizona in because at least they want to run a bunch, and we're going to have to at least do 2. Like Rashad White, I don't know. Tampa feels a little too ugly for me. I don't love that Cardinals have a 4.5 win total, so they're going to be bad. But, Levitin just tweeted out, there's an article that they want to be a lot more of a run-heavy team, so let's throw that in. Wide receivers. Detroit, great card. Awesome. Philly, card. Even better card. Philly might be the best. It's definitely one of the best with, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. Houston wide receiver, I'm not too excited about. Tennessee wide receiver, if Hopkins signs there, I like it. Otherwise, it's really just Traylon Burks by himself. So I'm just going to go with these 3 wide receivers for now. Tight end, we have 3 options. We have Indy, we have Minnesota, Arizona. Minnesota is a smash tight end card with Hawkinson. We're going to lock that one in. Defense, Seattle, San Francisco, New England, and Indy. San Francisco might be the best. It's definitely one of the best defenses.
Do we care about correlation here with defense with New England running back, New England defense? That kind of stood out to me. I mean, in this game, I do feel like defenses can put up some points, especially when you get a low scoring game. We know that New England wants to play low scoring games. At least I think they want to play low scoring games. So to me, there's a little correlation there. Also, while San Francisco D is probably one of the best Ds, I don't think it hurts you to have 2 defenses.
Yeah, no, usually when I fill them out, I always start off with just 1 tight end, 1 D. And then I kind of go from there and say, like, hey, are there other cards that I really want for the upside of other positions? If there's not, that's when I start moving back to tight end and defense. For tight end, I don't know. Not really excited anyways about Colts or Cardinals here. So I probably would just pass on that. I like the New England one as well because we're really not like fighting to put too many of these other in. We have 2 more spots. I might just throw Tampa in just because, like, you need to start a running back each week. So maybe it's worth just getting 3 of those out there. Gives us 1 more. Not excited with Desmond Ridder. Maybe Sam Howell. Maybe CJ Stroud. Nothing great there. Let's go Tennessee wide receiver. Maybe Hopkins signs. Otherwise, maybe just, Traylon has some big games. Otherwise, here you're looking at Nico Collins, Robert Woods, John Mechie. That's close. You know what? Maybe I'll go Houston. Bad defense, playing from behind, has some decent pass catchers. So you'll have until the end of July. So we'll give this away to someone in chat. You'll have until the end of July to make decisions. So if you see Hopkins signs, maybe you then go for Tennessee. But overall, I'd say it's an okay pack.
I'd say it's definitely an okay pack. I don't think it was a smash pack, but it is NFL. Anything can really happen. That's why I really like best ball, because you're not kind of chasing your tail. You get enough exposure to teams, positions, players, and you kind of sit back and enjoy the season that is. All right, let's give this thing away. You're going to type in hashtag Blitz. So this is Blitz Best Ball. It is our product over here at Own the Moment. Should be a really, really fun season. June contest is already locked, was packed with entrants. July contest already on track to beat the June contest, and we still have 20 days left in July. So how we do it is, each month we'll open up a new game. And Justin, talk to the people about why we do that, because I do think that is a bit of a separation or a difference in our game versus what Underdog is doing.
Yeah, and I mean, same thing. Underdog has some exact where they do time box contests, and the value is when you're drafting in that moment, you're only drafting against people with similar set of knowledge of information available at that time. Similar to here for the June best ball, when that closed, we didn't know where any of these running backs, Dalvin, Kareem Hunt, Ezekiel Elliott, Leonard Fournette are going to sign. DeAndre Hopkins, wide receiver. Now, July, maybe by the end of July, you do know. So you're allowed to actually say, hey, I've got that information. I want to make a bet that way. Maybe we don't know, and then you can make a decision yourself. Maybe you actually go with Tennessee wide receiver, and they'll be under-owned because we don't know if Hopkins signs there. So allows for that. And one of the mention as well is as we built this out, there is no rake involved. So 100% of the gold entries goes directly into the prize pool. It becomes far more of just a fun game for the community to get people excited and watching throughout the NFL season.
Yeah, I love that. I was going to make that call. 100% of all the pack purchases go into the prize pool. Best way to potentially sweat and win during the NFL season. So it should be pretty fun. All right. How many entries we got here? We got 25 people watching this. We only have 10 entries here. So type in, give it another minute or two, type in hashtag Blitz to get yourself into the giveaway. Justin, what's your hottest take for the NFL season, a specific player? Just give us any hot take that you got, anything you're thinking in that big brain of yours up there that maybe most other guys or nobody is thinking themselves.
I don't know. That's horrible. I have no idea.
The brain just processes the information that he has and makes the best decisions possible in a given moment.
What is a hot take? I mean, again, like I think Anthony Richardson has for this weekly winners. I think Anthony Richardson. Here's a hot take. Anthony Richardson will be in the winning lineup more than any other QB.
Wow. Love to hear that.
And the thought process there is, I think he has as much weekly upside as just about any other quarterback. But his cost is substantially lower. And when he has his really bad weeks, if he doesn't start at the beginning of the year, those zeros, they don't really hurt you. Yeah. But if he's able to actually, hey, get 1,000 rushing yards, maybe get 100-yard rushing game, he can then at least get close to those elite quarterbacks. But you're now getting him as the 9th rounder or whatever, and you're still getting your elite players up top. So there's my hot fire take.
For a guy who said he has no hot takes, that is a hell of a hot take. Yeah, completely agree. Anthony Richardson was super fun to watch last year at Florida, just running around doing literally everything. Going to be awesome to watch and see how that might transition to the NFL. All right. I think we've given you all enough time. If you wanted to enter, you would have entered by now. #Blitz. Let's draw this thing and see who's going to take home this pack. Draw.
All right, GLGL.
Yeah, Creek here says, can this pack come with a reroll? So for those of you out there, shout out Creek. Ends up being Creek the winner. It does not come with a free reroll. But yes, in our game, you can re-roll the pack. You can change the contents of your pack for a small fee associated with your pack. So if you're just pulling, absolute garbage, you're out there, you can get a re-roll in there for your lineup and get that thing set before the end of July. All right.
The Joker wins again. Need it. JJ's is your profile picture. Increases the chances of winning. We've seen
it. Really is kind of crazy how many Joker. I mean, as if we have any inclination over what the StreamYard algorithm is that pulls this.
It knows.
Totally insane.
It knows.
But yeah, get those YouTube profile pictures up as JJ's. I saw so many people say every time we say that, they're like, I don't know, I can't figure out how to do it. You have to go to Google to do it. You have to go to your Gmail page to do it. Literally have to change it on like all of your emails and things like that. So I love seeing the JJ profile pictures because that means you, like myself, if you're sending an email to anyone from Gmail, your profile picture of Jolly Joker is coming up, which is very fun. All right,
this was fun.
Love it. We will have to see if the Best Ball for Dummies brand catches on and maybe do some more of these, Justin. Maybe I'll jump into the actual draft next time and not to embarrass myself. But yeah, thanks for jumping on. Thanks for drafting. And thanks to all you all out there for listening. That'll do it for Justin and myself. And best of luck in all your Underdog drafts. Get your Blitz Best Ball packs. You have until the end of July, but jump on it early and happy football season. Talk to you all later.